In the world of celebrities and high-profile figures, it's rare that the truth behind the closed doors of power and influence comes to light. But in the ongoing trial of Sean Diddy Combs, the secrets are being exposed in real time. This week, the courtroom became a battleground where explosive testimonies have begun to unravel a web of allegations, personal rivalries, and criminal activity. What is really happening behind the scenes of this highly publicized trial? The stakes in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs have never been higher. As the proceedings move into their third week, the atmosphere in the courtroom is tense. What was once a high-profile celebrity case has quickly transformed into a gripping legal drama that promises to leave lasting implications not only for Combs, but for the broader culture of the music industry and celebrity circles. As the trial continues, we've already seen jaw-dropping revelations, and every day brings new twists. This week, all eyes are on the next crucial witness to take the stand, one of Combs' former assistants, who has been mentioned in previous testimonies but has yet to provide her own account. But before we look forward, let's take a deeper dive into the explosive testimony that made waves last week from none other than rapper Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi, who has long been tied to both Sean Combs and singer Cassie Ventura, took the stand and shocked everyone with his revelations. His testimony not only provided a glimpse into the complicated dynamics between Combs, Cassie, and himself, but it also offered disturbing accounts of violence and intimidation that he claims were orchestrated by Combs. Cudi described moments of fear for both his safety and Cassie's, especially in an incident that saw a jealous Combs allegedly breaking into his home. According to Kid Cudi, Combs locked his dog in a bathroom and then went so far as to open the dog's Christmas gifts. A bizarre act that not only signaled Combs' emotional volatility, but painted a picture of a man who might go to extreme lengths to control those around him. However, the most dramatic part of Cudi's testimony came when he detailed the incident in which he claims his Porsche was deliberately set on fire. Kid Cudi testified that he suspected Sean Combs was behind the damage to his car. The jury was shown images of Cudi's charred Porsche, and the story of the arson became central to the prosecution's argument. This incident, the prosecution argues, was one piece of evidence that ties Combs to a larger ongoing pattern of destructive behavior and criminal activity. But the defense was quick to challenge Cudi's account. On cross-examination, the defense tried to dismantle the credibility of Kid Cudi's testimony. They pointed out that there were no direct witnesses to the firebombing of the car, no surveillance footage, and no police reports that tied Combs to the incident. The defense argued that the testimony lacked any solid evidence, raising questions about whether Combs or anyone close to him was actually involved. The defense also zeroed in on Cudi's personal life, particularly his relationship with Cassie Ventura. Cudi had claimed that Cassie was leading a double life, dating both him and Combs. This, the defense suggested, undermined the prosecution's claim that Cassie was controlled or coerced by Combs. By casting doubt on Cudi's version of events, the defense aimed to weaken the prosecution's case and raise the possibility that Cassie's behavior was more voluntary than coercive. So what does this mean for the trial as a whole? For the prosecution, Kid Cudi's testimony was meant to be a cornerstone of their racketeering case. Racketeering, a charge typically associated with organized crime, involves a series of crimes conducted as part of a larger conspiracy. For the prosecution to prove their case, they must show that Combs was at the center of this conspiracy, orchestrating a range of criminal activities from violence and intimidation to more serious crimes like sex trafficking. Kid Cudi's claims of arson, burglary, and intimidation are part of a broader effort to paint Combs as the head of a criminal organization. The prosecution has to prove that the incidents involving Kid Cudi, as well as other alleged acts of violence and manipulation, were part of a calculated, organized effort to intimidate and control others. This is where things get tricky. To convict Combs of racketeering, the prosecution needs to establish that the crimes were not isolated incidents, but part of a larger ongoing operation that Combs was responsible for. On the flip side, the defense has been equally aggressive in chipping away at the credibility of the prosecution's evidence. The lack of direct evidence linking Combs to the crimes, and the fact that many of the incidents described by witnesses remain unverified or unsupported by physical proof, has given the defense room to argue that these are just baseless allegations. Their strategy hinges on creating doubt about whether Combs is truly responsible for the alleged criminal enterprise. As we move into the next phase of the trial, attention is turning to the next big witness, Capricorn Clark. Clark, a longtime assistant who eventually became an executive at Combs' Bad Boy Records, has already been referenced in previous testimonies. However, unlike some of the other witnesses, Clark has worked closely with Combs over a much longer period, which gives her insight into the inner workings of the alleged criminal enterprise. She has already been mentioned by Kid Cudi, who testified that Clark had warned him about Combs' associates breaking into his home. This makes Clark a pivotal witness for the prosecution. Clark is expected to testify about the methods and means of the alleged racketeering conspiracy that Combs is accused of leading. Her testimony could help fill in some of the blanks left by other witnesses and provide a clearer picture of how the operations within Combs' inner circle were run. If Clark is able to confirm the prosecution's claims that Combs used intimidation and manipulation to control others, it could have a significant impact on the jury's perception of the case. But as always, the defense will be ready to counter her testimony and discredit her statements if they can. One of the most striking aspects of this trial is how it highlights the tension between public perceptions of celebrities and the private, often dark realities they live behind closed doors. As the case progresses, we are starting to see the true complexity of the relationships between the people involved, particularly Combs, Cassie, and the various individuals who've been pulled into this case. Cassie Ventura, the star witness for the prosecution, has become the focus of much of the trial's emotional weight. Her relationship with Combs is at the heart of the sex trafficking and coercion allegations, and every new piece of testimony seems to add layers to the complex narrative of control, manipulation, and abuse that the prosecution is trying to build. But there are challenges here too. One of the most difficult questions for the jury to answer will be whether Cassie's actions were truly the result of coercion and manipulation, or if she was complicit in a consensual relationship that simply became toxic over time. The defense argues that the lifestyle she led, including the sexual behavior that has been described in testimony, was part of a consensual, albeit complicated, relationship. This is a crucial point because proving coercion is a key element in securing a conviction for sex trafficking. The prosecution's case hinges on showing that Cassie was controlled and that the environment in which she worked and lived was one of constant manipulation and threat. But the defense will continue to push the narrative that there was nothing coercive about their relationship, pointing to text messages and other evidence that they claim show Cassie was willing and even enthusiastic about the lifestyle Combs allegedly encouraged. In addition to the emotional weight of Cassie's story, another factor complicating the prosecution's case is the nature of sex trafficking charges. For a federal conviction of sex trafficking, the government must not only show that the activity occurred across state lines or internationally, but also that force, fraud, or coercion was involved. This is where the battle for the jury's heart and mind will play out. The defense will argue that there was no coercion, no abuse, just a voluntary, albeit unconventional relationship. Meanwhile, the prosecution is working to prove that what may have appeared consensual was in fact part of a much darker pattern of control and abuse. As this trial unfolds, more questions remain. Will Capricorn Clark's testimony tip the scales in the prosecution's favor, or will the defense manage to turn the tide? Will Cassie Ventura's testimony hold up under scrutiny, or will the defense discredit her claims of abuse? And most importantly, will Sean Combs be convicted of the charges he faces, or will the defense succeed in casting doubt on the prosecution's case? There is still much to learn, and the outcome of this case remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. As the trial of Sean Combs progresses, the truth is being slowly revealed piece by piece. And whether that truth leads to justice or further complications, it will no doubt have a lasting impact on how the public views both the music mogul and the legal system's approach to celebrity justice.